Welcome back, my zombie horde, to another zombies pickup video. I do want to apologize for the delay. It has been some time since we actually have been able to work on these videos, but trust me when I say that we've got a killer list of items to show you guys in the upcoming future, and we're going to start today with a box of boxes, as a matter of fact. We all know what's going on with the state of the world right now, and because of that, game hunting has been a little bit difficult, especially in our local mom and pop stores, wherever that you personally buy your games from, and of course online prices are through the roof. Luckily, as I've preached to everybody before, gotta keep that gamer faith, because sometimes you strike gold, and that's exactly what I did with this box today. So we're gonna start with a couple pieces that I picked up locally. And when I say locally, I mean that loosely, because they're in Mesa, we're in Tucson. But I want to thank the guys at 1UP Games for hooking me up with these much sought after boxes for my collection. We're going to start with Wheel of Fortune Family Edition. Not much to say here, it is Wheel of Fortune. I used to watch this game show as a kid, grew out of it, games were okay. I still prefer Family Feud over this one, but I don't have my box anymore, and they actually had this with the manual, I believe, and of course got it for a really good price. Next up, we have Pinball Quest. What's there to say about Pinball Quest, other than the fact that it's probably one of the most hated pinball games out there for its difficulty? I gotta say that a pinball game that adds an RPG fantasy storyline to it is pretty awesome to me. Do I get frustrated with it? From time to time, yes, but I do recommend giving this game a try. It is starting to go up in the price, but if you can get one cheap, go for it. Oh, there we go right there. 1UP Games label. That's actually a really good copy that I got at a good price from them too. So again, if you haven't checked out 1UP Games, do yourselves a favor and stop on in when you get the chance. And of course, probably one of the more desired boxes to have back in my collection again, even though the game is not the greatest, Bart vs. the Space Mutants. I have a pretty minty cartridge still. I could not find my box or manual to this. This might have been one of the few that got misplaced or thrown out while I was trying to move everything, but thankfully they had a very minty copy. I've already put it in a box protector just like I've done with the other games, and it's just really good to have this one back in the collection. I'm working on getting Bart vs. the World back, and just recently I managed to get Bart meets Radioactive Man, which you'll see in an upcoming video. Alright, so for the next batch, I had to get most of the stuff online. eBay, Mercari, OfferUp were, again, my usual sources for online buying. I hit a stalemate with a lot of those for some time. Luckily, some deals were popping up. Worked with a lot of good sellers out there, and managed to get most of these at a decent price. We'll go ahead and start with Tecmo Super Bowl. The fan base on this is kind of divided. Most of us prefer Tecmo Bowl because that one's more classic. We seem to have more connection to that, but I do think that Tecmo Super Bowl is just as good, with the updated graphics, roster, and all that. I'm not a big sports enthusiast, as you all should know by now, so don't take my word for it. But whether you're a fan of one or the other or both, can't go wrong with any Tecmo sports game. Next up, we've got Pictionary by LJN and Win, Lose, or Draw by High Tech Expressions. Now, I'm going to admit, I did used to watch Win, Lose, or Draw back in the day. I was young enough to catch it right around the time, I think just before soap operas came on. I don't really remember. Both of these involve the concept of drawing your clues and having your team members try to figure out what the item is in the case of Win, Lose, or Draw, or what the clue is in Pictionary. Both of these games probably will offer the same amount of entertainment. I can't say that they're on my must-play list, but if you ever played the board game of this or ever watched the TV show of this, maybe revisit them, see if you're still into that kind of thing, or maybe ask the greater question of why were you ever into it in the first place. Alright, so now we've got a couple of eBay listings here. These are still wrapped in their plastic, and I'm going to show you why that is. First up, we've got Tecmo NBA Basketball, another highly recommended Tecmo sports game. This one I kind of feel is on par with Double Dribble if you're a fan of that game. It definitely has more improved graphics than Double Dribble, and maybe the gameplay is even slightly better. I had this in my collection for a very long time. I lost the box, don't know what happened to it. Got this one for a pretty fair price. The seller was trying to tell me it was completely mint, and one thing I spotted right away, nah. That tear does not make it mint, I'm sorry. But nonetheless, got a good price on it along with the other games that are in here because most of these were bought from the same seller. Tag Team Wrestling. Glad to have this box back in the collection again. Not a great wrestling game by any means. I compare this to Muscle on the NES as well. Both of them really don't play well, don't offer much in terms of graphics. But the reason why I do like Tag Team Wrestling, for you Homestar Runner fans out there, this is the game that led to Strong Bad.
What the crap?
So keep that in mind. If it wasn't for this horrible wrestling game, we wouldn't have one of the funniest characters in animation history. Next up, even mintier cards, if you can believe that. Hence, the double layer of wrapping. J-Love, I know you're looking at this going, how do I get that? How do I get a piece of that? Maybe I should send you just a box full of bubble wrap. You let me know in the comments if you would love that. Alright, first up, Exodus Ultima. This is an RPG series that I feel kind of fell under the radar because nobody really talks about it. And like the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons series, there's quite a few titles under the label. I remember playing Ultima Quest of the Avatar more just because I like the sound of it. But Ultima Exodus is fairly common and probably the cheapest of the RPGs. If you've never tried it, give it a look, see if it's your kind of game, and who knows, maybe you'll grow to like the whole series too. Next up, NFL Football, again, LJN. Not a big impressive sports game by any means. I'm going to go back to my Tecmo Bowl argument and say that's probably the best football game ever. Dan, I know you like John Elway's quarterback, but sorry, Tecmo Bowl all the way. This was a pretty minty box. Unfortunately, I did not have box protectors for it at the time of arrival, but rest assured this is going to go in a box protector along with everything else. Bo Jackson Baseball. Some of you may or may not know I am a huge Bo Jackson fan. I was as a kid. Sad to see his career ended very, very early. But I had to get the Nintendo game at a young age. Unfortunately, box, who knows where that ended up. Glad to have this one back because it's definitely worth the price I paid for it. It even has the poster in this, if I recall. And it's going to be one of my more important Bo Jackson pieces of memorabilia right next to my double-sided Tiger Electronics handheld game, which I wanted as a kid forever. Now here are two pieces that I want to show you guys because I bought these through eBay, but I also bought them through a pawn shop, if you can believe it. I actually had to sign a waiver on top of a contractual agreement through eBay. Never had to do that before. But for these games, or at least one of them, it was worth it. We have XMen Mutant Academy on Game Boy Color. My brother growing up had X-Men Mutant Wars, I believe. And although that game was fun, the characters were very chibi and childlike in a way. Mutant Academy ups that by making the characters bigger. The moves are easier. There's more characters to this. You can actually input a code to get Phoenix and I believe Apocalypse. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section. Again, nothing really grand as far as a fighting game or an X-Men game goes, but it is a good one. And for those of you who have played the X-Men library, you all know that there's a ton of games in it that really aren't that fun or are deemed too difficult. This one's not bad for killing time, so if you can find this cheap, I recommend it. Probably the pride of the whole box is this, what would have been factory sealed copy of King of the Ring on the original Game Boy. This is the wrestling game to get on Game Boy. Superstars holds a lot of nostalgia for us, and the roster in that game, you know, is hit or miss based on what era of wrestling you grew up on. I grew up on it from all the way back to like the really early 80s, so a lot of these wrestlers I know and either liked or hated. This game in particular has probably some of the best graphics of a wrestling game on Game Boy. The music is really good. Again, you've got a roster of old and newer wrestlers at the time. But what blew my mind about this is the fact that this thing had to have just been opened, because as you can see here, it's got the original KB Toys price tag on it along with the clearance tag, which they did used to do before they only went to this model of label. And when I examined it, I said examined, but yeah, I kind of did with a fine tooth comb and magnifying glass. I just noticed that the plastic had only been recently loosened. So this game had to have been factory sealed for a very long time. I don't know if whoever brought it in opened it, or if the pawn shop themselves opened it to examine everything in here. I kind of wish it was still factory sealed, because you all know how I feel about factory sealed games. If it's sealed, it stays that way. But I have played it, works fine. It's got the manual. I think it's got the poster even. Box is a little dented, as you can see there. But again, this is the best wrestling game on Game Boy. Comes highly recommended for me. And if you guys are wrestling fans and haven't checked this out, give it a try. And also check out the LJN Defenders library on the wrestling games, because he did a good job. Alright, so that is everything for today. I want to thank you all for watching. Again, this was all about trying to take my loose copies and Frankensteining them back to their original complete in box splendor, or at least close enough. I have managed to maintain a lot of my original library, and sadly some of it has taken a hit, but it's nice to know that I can still find the items that I need when I want them. So again, keep the gamer faith, everybody. I know we're all still out there. We're all trying to help each other out too with loose, complete in box titles, brand new titles. Just keep looking, keep hunting, keep asking for help, because our community is totally about that. And you all know me, if I have it, it'll get Zomboxed to you as soon as possible. So again, thank you all for watching. Zombie JLT1, your supernatural gamer, gaming beautician, and king of streams, hopefully again. Want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next pickup video.